check it out. We got the man here, Mr. Mike himself.
What's happening?
Darkest Hour. Here in hot Florida.
Yeah, we are roasting down here in Tampa talking about Gator Cases.
we're at the Orpheum, kind of chilling out backstage here. You guys just unloaded. When did you guys get in town?
We got in town actually yesterday, had a day off here in Tampa. We just spent it, really just crashed out of the hotel room because we just finished 20 shows, 20 days in a row. So everybody was just fried at that point. But we had a good day to recharge, you know, and now we have the last 4 days of this tour to kind of just go as hard as we can. So we love the heat. We love it getting down here and just getting tropical. We do. Our guitar players, are there guitar players from down here? And he has just embraced it. And so we actually really enjoy it. And we love coming down to Florida. And this is actually some of the most consecutive shows in Florida we played in, I would say, almost a decade. So.
No kidding.
Yeah, 4 or 5 shows a decade in Florida. This is one for the books.
So how long you guys been doing this as a band?
Next year will be our 30th anniversary of live shows. September 23rd, 1995 was our first show. So to say that we are in love with this might be an understatement. We are definitely addicted to life in a touring band because we, live for this for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy, thinking the longevity. A lot of bands now, they get together, they don't last that long. So there's got to be magic involved in what you guys do. But with that being said, when you guys first started touring to how you tour now, how has that dichotomy changed for you guys?
It's so different. I mean, just even what we're doing right now, making media on tour it's so different. I mean, to put it into perspective, on our first U.S. tour, of course there was no internet. I mean, there was nothing like that. None of us even had cell phones. We had booked the tour with a landline phone in my apartment, and then when we went to each city, we would call the clubs when we got there from a payphone to find out where the club was. It was very different than now, where it's an organized situation and we're traveling in a tour bus with a whole bunch of crew and everything. So we have sort of got to live the entire gambit of the touring experience over those 3 decades, no doubt. Like everything from the jet set tour bus lifestyle to everybody sleeping on top of picnic tables and sleeping bags at rest stops to save money.
Because when you started out, you were probably just touring around in a van and a trailer.
Oh yeah, we still occasionally do sprinter tour, like short little runs. You have to be able to adapt. But in the beginning, we're talking mid-90s, it was only the American style conversion vans and stuff like that. So it was always pretty tight, always about 8-9 guys in a vehicle that definitely shouldn't hold that many. But like I said, even though things have changed and there's a lot more things that are comfortable about touring, there are still plenty of, pitfalls and a lot of things to work around. And so I think even though it has gotten easier in some ways, it has in some ways also gotten more challenging. So it's a ever-changing kind of experience as the music industry changes and as the industry out here changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were growing up, obviously you looked to people that were like your idols, people that you looked up to. Who were some of those influences early on for you that made you go, man, I want to do that,
Well, I went through a couple phases of my rock worship enlightenment, to sort of like just I want to dedicate my life to this. And the first was, I got my first taste of AC/DC.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was obviously
like most
first
people,
love. Classic rock, brought me to guitar. And then I fell in love with heavy metal. And around that time, because of my age, Dimebag Darrell was really breaking onto the American scene. Cowboys from Hell had come out. Vulgar Display of Power was about to come out. Pantera played a bunch in Maryland supporting that coming up to the release of Vulgar Display. So I was lucky enough to experience Pantera in the beginning. That changed my life, no doubt. Like seeing Dimebag play, that was life-changing. And then I discovered vegan straight edge hardcore that was happening in the mid-90s in the US and got into a whole other scene that introduced me to touring,
Yeah.
And through that, I kind of rediscovered sort of my oldest DC influences, which is a band called Fugazi. They used to play all the time for free in the park in DC. They're the biggest independent rock band from our city. And when I was a kid, I took them for granted because I loved heavy metal. But now that I'm older and I've done this band for so long, I really appreciate the things that they stood for and did. And it kind of led me to a more over-encompassing kind of perspective of what it is to be in a band. And it, you know, I've had my heavy metal influence, my hardcore influence, my indie rock influence, and kind of all that I think makes me and the band, for some better part of word, you know, the band we are. And I'm the musician because of all those, you know.
And now that you know you're more mature now, you've grown up, you've listened to so many different things. Do you see that anybody on the scene now that you look at and you know you get a little influenced by seeing anything new?
Well,
or
sure. Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I love two things. I really love it when old artists do something new that makes you love it. Because I kind of relate to being in a band for 30 years, doing what I'm doing, and having fans come in and out of love with your band because of where they are in their life and just how things work, you know?
Yeah.
So when one of my favorite older artists does an album that's new that makes me fall in love with them again, that is my magic, you know? So, I mean, these are not the best examples, but the ones that just come up right away. The Van Halen, A Different Kind of Truth record, a lot of people, it's embattled. This record just, it really was so important in my life because it just was like, oh my God, it can be done. Like this legacy band, like I love this record. And maybe even more recently, I love the new Kerry King record. Like,
oh yeah,
like Kerry King's, like one of my favorite guitar players. I love Slayer, but I love how he took singer from Death Angel and he gave it a little bit more modern spin, took some risks. I was sad to hear Slayer was going to break up. I'm like, what?
But are they really?
But are they really? And also, I was happy to get this record. So I love that. And also, I love, there's a lot of really cool up-and-coming like hardcore bands from the area that I live. I mean, not even just in Washington, D.C., but also in Baltimore. I mean, I'm sure some of y'all have heard of the band Turnstile, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But there's also, I really love the band End It that's from that scene. They're like, I don't know about younger, but an up-and-coming more hardcore band from that scene. And just something about their music, the shit, it just is a whole mood, you know?
Yeah.
And that draws me in because, like, when you're just out here looking at Spotify, looking at YouTube, looking for something to grab you, it's kind of unquantifiable what it is. But when there's something that you connect to it, especially for me, I'm like an ultra fan because that's what's been behind this whole drive to sit out here and sweat and die out here on the road is because we are like 9 of the biggest music super fans that are out there.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
And you probably all have different, like everybody in the band probably has, you know, a lot of different influences when it comes to music.
Oh,
how does that work in the writing process? Do you find that you guys, like your writing has changed because of your influences from the past and the new? Like when you hear other stuff, you're like, oh, you know, let's, you know, maybe do that sound or that style or whatever, you know?
I think, you know, the band being 30 years old, it's become its own, I don't want to say person, but it's its own identity. It's its own thing. It has a sound, you know? I think we all understand what is the sound of Darkest Hour. But over the course of this 30 years, we've really pushed the trajectory of like what is a Darkest Hour song and what is the sound of Darkest Hour, to the point where we really feel that we have a comfortable sort of sphere to work in, right? And so I think now all of us having that understanding, we have a vision together of what does the band sound like, and then we can start communicating, well, like, what kind of album are we trying to make, and what kind of songs are we really looking to put together? And I'm really excited for the next record because the chemistry of the band is always sort of evolving and changing a little bit, but where we're at this moment, coming off the creation of the last record, coming off all this touring is the chemistry is real ripe for positive communication. I think that will really result in some really awesome music.
Dude, yeah,
and
yeah.
has resulted in some great times out here and some super successful shows and a really positive working team right now.
How do you guys, when y'all start to do that and you start to write new music, like for the new album, are you guys very like hands-on with producing and all that as well with your...
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll make little demos that easily could be like released on the internet as a fucking song, you know what I mean? We use all the little software tricks and we make it sound as good as we can. But we also try to not get too married to it because, you know, you just really don't want to get caught demo-itis, you know? And then when it comes to making the final record on this last record, we definitely wanted to self-produce the writing of it, but we still always like to tap in very talented people to help make sure the sonics are up to date with what's happening. Because, you know, while we are all capable of home recording and even recording albums on a professional level, like when you want to take the baby in your hand, you know, take Darkest Hour's legacy in your hand and make a new record, you really want to make sure you have your bases covered. And it's nice to have some help so that as an artist you can sit back and be the artist and not try to wear every hat.
I get that. And technology has changed so much that you know back in the day, like you said,
everything.
Right, and like you said, when you guys first started, it was like, you know, back then, if you weren't on a record label or a major, it was like you couldn't do anything. And now people are recording out of their basements and putting out quality stuff.
Here's what's fucking crazy. Back then, if you had a band practice, you just had to remember what you wrote. You know what I'm saying? Then we figured out you could take the tape recorder and put the towel over top of it and hit record, and that would muffle it enough that maybe you could hear what the fuck was happening in the room when you listen to it later. But still, that's a long way away from now. When we write a song, everybody plays it. We're recording the entire band practice, everything's mic'd. So when that magic moment happens, you just walk over to the computer and you've got it, you know? And I think some of that has really helped just things become like, man, you hit record, everything's mic'd up, and then just creativity explodes. And in the past, the technology was good, but it didn't allow for just complete freedom of movement. So I think, you know, again, we've continued to evolve with like how we do things and how we write, how we archive stuff, and we're addicted to learning how to do this stuff because this is fun for us, you know? We like to make little demos that sound cool and drive around in our car, listen to it, fucking, you know, make little fake versions of albums and jam them, you know? And so I think part of it being fun and us wanting to play with it kind of keeps us engaged with it, you know?
I get that a lot. And also, you know, with technology and everything like that, you know, just being so advanced now, how do you find that like social media has played such a big part? How do you guys find using that now compared to when you started? You know, it's harder to get stuff out there to be seen and visible. Now it's so much easier. Has that like created a huge boost for you guys as far as like new fans being discovered by people that might not have known who you were, or, you know, getting into places that you normally would have had to really push or contact, or I need to know somebody? How has that helped you guys? Because y'all are pretty active.
I really think, I mean, it's so funny. My impulse to answer your question is to tell you that I think that it's a zero-sum game. Like, having existed in the age of paper flyers and the shit we were doing before the internet existed, we were still out there engaging with people, but the way that we were engaging, they were engaging with so little that you actually could make an impact. Whereas now, there is so much white noise on your phone and everywhere. It feels as an artist that you have to constantly be evolving and learning to exist in this media marketplace that, you know, you didn't even really want to have to be in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get into writing death metal songs so that I could be a social media star. Social media star didn't even exist when I fell in love with music, you know? So for me, this is a necessary evil that allows the entrepreneurship of this music to be something that we can create a small little baby business, go out here and have 9 people be able to like live off of heavy metal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that sort of DIY kind of unregulated marketing space, I am thankful for social media. But for a lot of other things, including the most ultimate thing that is an awful, symptom of it all is, you know, people filming all the shows at the phone, like with their phones the entire time, and fucking checking Instagram in the front row while you're playing type shit. It's just like, oh my God, like, people, and I understand the impulse to just not even maybe know what you're doing it, and you just look down at your phone and start doing it, and so it's an unruly beast to have to kind of wrangle and ride these past 2 decades, you know, and I would say it's probably the hardest thing about being in a band for me in general is navigating the worth of the time and energy that's put into whatever we're doing, you know?
Yeah, and you know, for me, and I bet you were the same way, but I couldn't wait to like go down to the local bookstore and buy, you know, Metal Edge or Hit Parade, and like I would gobble that stuff up, right?
I'm so sad that the midnight record store release party is sort of dead. Like back in the day when they would have those like.
I used to stand in line for those.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and people would be out there in the parking lot jamming music and stuff. But I mean, I guess it's important to not like sound just like a bitter, jaded old person, with everything. But there were really some things that I felt really connected to when things were a lot more rogue,
Yeah.
And now I think with all this accessibility on the computer comes a little bit of just, I guess, complicity with just how there's so much stuff thrown at people. And all I would ask is, or all I would say is thank you to people out there who have paid attention this far to watch this much on whatever media you are watching on.
I hear you, man. Well, you mentioned, band life and all that, and sometimes your tours can get pretty lengthy. You told me earlier you just celebrated 19 years.
Yep, I've been married for 19 years.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
I give you that.
that.
That's a feat for sure. How do you find balancing home life and touring life?
I mean, for me, I've been lucky enough to have a very supportive wife who loves music. She doesn't necessarily love heavy metal. She loves music, and she does understand my love for heavy metal, and of course, she's a Darkest Hour fan. She has to be. But more than anything, she's appreciated my love for this and my dream to want to be able to be in a rocking band, but do this thing with your friends in a tour bus, go all around the world, play your own songs. So, that dream became our dream when we got married, and she's helped facilitate that the entire time. And everybody in the band would also echo that she's also been a driving force to keep the band on track, and has been a really good voice of reason in times of crisis for us. So I think when you have that kind of partner, it's not easy, but it's destined to just kind of move in the direction you want it to.
Yeah.
So, and we all have had a lot, well, not all of us, but a lot of us have had some long relationships, and a lot of it has to do with, just the commitment to understanding that, like, this is who we are, this is what we do, we love it, but we're also loyal to the responsibilities that you have at home to make that work. And once you find that balance and you find that partner, just all you got to do is just not fuck it up.
I hear you. Yeah, and you guys, especially being together for 30 years, you've seen band members come and go, and had a lot of different changes, and you guys are on the road. People don't understand, man, how difficult sometimes it can be to cram a bunch of guys in a tour bus.
Lots of personalities.
Yeah, right. And so finding that happy medium where you get to the point where everybody just finally gets along.
Well,
to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a pressure cooker.
It is. It's like a family, right? And brothers fight.
Oh yeah.
So that stuff happens. How do you guys keep all that in check, especially when you're on the road?
Well, the band, we love playing.
Yeah.
So we actually rehearse the set every night before we play. We do a little jam in our dressing room or our trailer. Our drummer uses pads. That's how we warm up. Some bands do it. Some people think it's psycho, but we love to play. In fact, like before I even practice a little set, I have a little half-hour warm-up little thing I do. Our other guitar player has a thing he does. So we are constantly playing. In that area where we get together, whether it's a backstage room, whether it's the trailer, wherever, that jam spot area, that becomes a sort of like band meeting room area. And it always, every day, it's where everybody's sort of like, they gravitate to, and eventually at some point they're all together. It's almost meditative, I mean, you're just practicing the same set that you're just about to play every day, but it sort of gets you in. You think about the set before, you think about the show before, and you just sort of connect on that level. And I think that having a band of 5 guys that are willing to do that every night because they just like playing and they like it to be tight and they just want it to be good.
Yeah.
And it's more of an impulse than it is anything they control. Like that's that magic connection.
That's the bond. That's what keeps you. What keeps you together. Well,
and that's the recipe so far, anyway.
Yeah. Well, so we'll get a little bit to some of the meat here. Obviously, we're sitting down here with Mike because the whole band is proud endorsers of the Gator products.
Oh yeah, for many decades. It has to be almost over 2. But
so you've seen variations of product come out from us.
We've had all sorts of Gator cases over the years. I had a Gator mixing case for our Behringer X32. I had forever. I mean, that thing was a tank. But we've had the guitar boats. We've had all sorts of drum cases. We've put them all to the test. It's always been a logo that we've sort of like knew if it said Gator, it would like last a lot longer than most other stuff. You know what I mean? And there's certain things that only you all make that we love. Specifically the guitar boat. We have the 7 guitar boat we have used for as long as I knew that you could buy it. You know, it's super affordable, and it's just it was a dream come true once we could get one. Like, getting a guitar boat back in the day was harder, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say that we are fairly versed in all things Gator, and the new things that we've gotten from you all recently are really super cool, because I just love how sleek they've gotten, and just like, I don't know, something about it kind of makes you feel more organized when the cases feel more put together.
Well, us like a band, we evolve too. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you got to keep up with the times, and you got to keep up with what's popular, because technology changes all the time.
Yeah.
And people spend a lot of money on their products, and they want it to be protected.
Oh, yeah. And for me, like, it's not that I'm particular, you know what I mean? I like what I like. And I love it when my stuff, like, fits in everything right. I love it when the show's over and I can get the fuck off the stage as fast as I need to. Everything wraps up. It connects easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it just loads right in the van. There's something, the feng shui of it or whatever, just, it's calming, but it also makes you feel more prepared for the show because everything's organized, you know? And we have, in the past and occasionally, we'll still use all sorts of weird stuff to carry things. Suitcases, fucking cardboard boxes, whatever, because the trailer is it's insane in there. It shakes nonstop, and I will say that 99% of the time the stuff in the Gator cases is safe because it's insulated enough that it doesn't shake around as much. But if you have the wrong case, if you're using stuff that you're not supposed to use, everything gets damaged so fast, you know? I mean, there are multiple reasons why we might love a case as much as a guitar, and no one will ever know it, you know? Because to us, these things are kind of sexy, you know what I mean? Like, when you can put everything away, make it condensed, make it fit in a corner of a club, make it easily findable, recognizable, and withstand the test of being knocked down a stair and stuff. It just really does make you feel like you are prepared for a little battle out here. You know what I mean?
Well, I cases are kind of like a backup quarterback. They need to be there.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and they're a necessary evil, where it's since nobody really thinks about wanting to spend a lot of money on them until they have to think about moving around stuff that they want to protect. And then you start to realize that it is exactly as important as the thing that you're protecting. You know. And especially on the past couple tours, it's become apparent to me that like the functionality of a case, how well it works in the game time scenario, really affects like everything, because it's like you come in, you're prepared. Everything on case is easy, it hides easy. You're on the stage, boom, sound check, everything goes how it's supposed to go. Everything feels right. Nothing's all over the place. Nothing's hard to find afterwards. Nothing's lost. Nothing's broken. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't know, almost the unseen truth of touring is that you really need to be able to protect everything you're bringing, because that defense is the only way you can play offense, you know what I mean? And have a great show.
Well, man, we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Y'all have been great. We love working with y'all.
I'm going to cut you off to say that Gator has supported our whole hard-working band so hard, and we can't say thank you enough to them for being there for us, because a lot of people, fans, you know, people who love our music ask, like, what can we do for you? What we can do for you? And being there for us, supporting us out here with these cases, and being here as a sponsor has really helped, you know, support this band in a way that not a lot of people can. So we are appreciative of you all taking that role.
Thank you, man.
And these amazing cases.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate that.
For sure.
Thank you, guys. Again, here with Mike from Darkest Hour. Guys are playing at the Orpheum tonight. And again, have a safe trip out there on the road. And you guys got some European tours coming up. And you guys be safe out there. And we appreciate you guys very much, man. Thanks so much.
Come see us on tour. Come check out these Gator cases, man. Holler at us. We're showing you. No doubt.
Thanks. Peace.